Welcome to Screening Room. I'm Robert Gardner. Animation, cinematically speaking, is the process in filmmaking whereby inert or non-live subject matter is given life, or a kind of life. It's something that started back in the 19th century when film really began to do two different things: to record nature live and also to put life into inert and non-live subject matter. The two people who represent both of these phases or sort of branches of filmmaking are Lumière and Méliès. And it seems that ever since that time, film has been going in these two different directions, at least these two different directions. Now, synonymous with animation, in this country at least, is the name HUBLEY. Not everybody knows that HUBLEY means two people, John Hubley and his wife and intimate collaborator, Faith Hubley. John, I know that people would be interested in yours and Faith's background before, we get into the contemporary era of your filmmaking. People probably know, but they certainly should know if they don't, that you began as an animator, I suppose in the 30s, was it not?
January 1st, 1936.
Really? Well, that's a good starting date. And that was at Disney Studio? Or what?
At Disney Studio.
How big was it then?
About 200.
Did you jump into Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, or what? Yeah.
Snow White was underway, and the expansion was on, and he was hiring people from the art schools, young, green, from all over the country.
After that, it was Fantasia and Rites of Spring, and...
Yeah, well, there was a brief period on Dumbo, and there was a strike in 1941. And
was he underpaying the people there, or what?
Well, a lot of people felt it was underpaid, but it was a much deeper psychological issue than that. It was a sense of betrayal on many levels, that people felt the organization was becoming too mechanical and too bureaucratic, and the individual artists were getting swamped.
So then what did you...
John Hubley began his career at Disney, where he worked as a background animator and art director on their earliest feature films. In 1939, architect Frank Lloyd Wright visited Disney Studios, bringing with him a copy of Ivan Ivanovano's The Tale of Tsar Durnday. Now, clearly this animation style was in stark contrast to Disney, and this made an impression on Hubley, who believed the medium had potential beyond what Walt was offering. The economic instability of the Great Depression gave way to the rise of unions, and due to a strike at Fleischer Studios, animators would organize the Screen Cartoonists Guild in 1938. By 1941, all studios had signed contracts except Disney. In Walt Disney's opinion, his was exempt because he provided the best pay and working conditions, neglecting the fact that only a select few got to enjoy these privileges. On May 29th of that year, over 200 employees went on a strike that would last 5 weeks, ending with Disney eventually signing.
What did you do? You went to UPA, or...?
Yeah, after an Army stint.
And well, you weren't an artist in the Army, were you?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
I was very fortunate. In the Air Force, had a motion picture training film unit, and a lot of animation, gunnery, techniques. And so
then you're responsible for some of the animated instructional films that were done.
Yeah.
Flat Hatting, was that one?
Flat Hatting. That was a Navy series we did. Yeah.
Oh.
But first, the Army, in the Air Force, we did a series called Trigger Joe, and it was on aerial gunnery. Then, when I got out, UPA had a Navy contract, and we continued to make for the Navy. That's very similar to the Harvard-Yale experience I had later.
Which is Army, which is Navy?
I don't know.
Well, so then, as far as I know, you began creating absolutely immortal characters at UPA, McBoing Boing and... Magoo.
Yeah, I didn't have much to do with McBoing except as a kind of a director on it.
Magoo is your idea.
Ted Geisel wrote that.
Yeah.
Magoo was a great love of mine. Or did
incredible
the first 4 or 5 of them.
Yeah.
My uncle.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
A lot of my father did it too.
Hubley would leave the studio during this strike, producing several films for Screen Gems before moving to United Productions of America. It was here he created Mr. Magoo, maybe his most enduring character, but I think more importantly it was at UPA where he began experimenting with form. My favorite example of this is 1951's Rudy Toot Toot. While the animation is somewhat limited, its style is striking, particularly the use of color and textures. A year later, he was forced to leave UPA for refusing to name names before the House Committee on Un-American Activities, unlike his old boss, and was subsequently blacklisted from the industry. Faith Elliott left home at 15 to pursue a career in theater, and at 18 headed for Hollywood, where she worked as a music editor and script supervisor on such films as 12 Angry Men. Her and John would meet here, and together founded Storyboard Studios in 1953, vowing to independently produce and release one animated film a year. They were married in 1955, the same year the studio moved to New York, and would collaborate on every project for the next 22 years, beginning with 1957's Harlem Wednesday. This featured no traditional animation, instead the couple filmed paintings by Gregorio Prestopino, using camera movement to create rhythm and motion. In 1958, they produced Tender Game. This was their first animated collaboration, a short depicting love abstractly with a score composed by Oscar Peterson. The images moved with the music as though they were improvised, a feeling that would become a staple of the Hubleys and taken to the next level with 1959's Moonbird. In what is perhaps their best-known work, John and Faith recorded their two young sons rambling as they were falling asleep. They then took the story the children fabricated and animated it. The result is a surreal stream of consciousness in which the boys search for an elusive bird.
You don't want to wake everyone up. Where's the birdie? You know, he flew away. Away, away. I'm a birdie.
The film captures an emotional realism that would have been impossible to script, and provides a glimpse into the wonder of a child's imagination. Moonbird would win the Hubleys their first Oscar, and was the first independently produced short to win the award. They would win again for The Hole and a Herb Alpert and Tijuana Brass double feature in 1962 and 66 respectively. As the Hubley family grew, their films came to include the imaginations of their other children, Georgia and Emily. Both would appear in Cockabooty, a sort of spiritual sequel to Moonbird in which the children's playing is interspersed with conversations about childbirth and adulthood. Because of this, the films of Faith and John Hubley managed to capture not only the joy and wonder of childhood, but of creating and life itself.